Well, here it is. One of the final videos I will do for this year. And as I said in the Vince McMahon video that I did, which is now age restricted, I will try to find a way to work around that since oh Lord. But anyways, I said it in that vid. I was going to do the best and worst of pro wrestling in 2022. I'm not, and this will include like pay per views of the year, the best one, the worst one. I will include like worst match of the year, but I will not put match of the year like the best one because the video after this will be my favorite matches for pro wrestling in 2022 this year. So since I got plenty of great matches that I have in my mind, and I know some which are in my list for match of the year. I could have done maybe I could have 50% serviceable for me at least. So yeah, stay tuned for that as I will do 10 my favorite 10 wrestling matches from this year. It, it can be for like a teacher from a TV show, a pay per view, whatever what do you call it? Whatever show it is, I will put it on there. So yeah, stay. So make sure to stay tuned for that, which will probably come out after this video, which is covering the year that is 2022 in wrestling, and I, you know, I when this year started, like nobody expected for the year to turn out the way it is to be. Like, like I was, I remember feeling a little like I didn't like. I remember being confident that 2022 wasn't going to be that crazy because I remember 2021 when like all the returns happened in wrestling, when like CM Punk returning, and then like if you want to include like Becky or Brock's return for this year, and even John Cena's from like I think was like Money in the Bank. When all that returns happened, like I remember being confident in 2022, not being so the year that it turned out to be. I think was going to be, but boy was I wrong. And I think that's even said like in my last video, like this has turned out to be the most craziest year that I think we have witnessed since 2007 with the whole Chris Benoit news that earthshake the landscape of pro wrestling at that time. That the earthshaking that it caused around the wrestling community that year alone. This year was a lot of ways earth shaking to the wrestling community. With a lot of things that happened that I will cover in this thing. Like, and there were so many, like, I would get to, like, the most shocking news of the year. Like, this is a year when Stone Cold Steve Austin returned to the ring after 19 years away from the ring. This is a year with Sasha Banks and Naomi walk out of the WWE, and with the rumors now Sasha will not come back, if ever, to the company. This is a year where shit like I like this is a year where Jeff Hardy got arrested again for his third DUI arrest. Like, what the fuck? I'm still disgusted as I was when I heard the news. This is a year when MJF had a major falling out with All Elite Wrestling, supposedly, and then cut a scathing promo, cut the promo of his life on that Dynamite after Double or Nothing, where he cut on all he read, he scathing, he vented on all the fans, all the wrestlers, the Tony Khan, calling him a fucking mark. Like, out of all this news, like, the most shocking news, and pretty much probably the most shocking news of all time, if I'm being honest, the news of the year, the biggest story of this year easily has to go with Vince McMahon leaving and stepping down as head of creative and the chairman of WWE. Like, like that's something that I would have laughed at you and calling you and tried to tell you to ask for a prayer if you think that will even happen. If you thought that would happen when this year started, I will mock at you if you thought Vince was retiring. And even with the when we first heard of the Vince scandal and hush money situation, like, I still didn't, and I said it when I made my when I was questioning should Vince retire, and I said yeah, but I didn't think he would, because like it was so unfathomable to even think he would even get to this. And then we hear more stories about Vince paying hush money, doing all this ridiculous shit that as a owner of the company you just don't really have to do. It's a bad look. And with all the news started to pile on and we start tanking because of it, the boy had this I bet he was pressured by the board more than anything that he had to step down, because like we all with that news drop, like that was kind of it. Like when you heard about it, that was kind of it for Vince. Like, and when you heard about it more and more, like this was only going to get worse. And I said when in my last video talking about Vince, like I said, like that, like the, and I said like it was only going to get worse if he had stayed. So for the better of everyone in that company, he had to step down, and after that, Triple H took over as head of creative. Stephanie McMahon, they got above like co-CEOs. Stephanie McMahon, the chairwoman of the company now, and ticket sales have been up. The stock has been up. Like they've been the I think the one thing we have learned this year is that WWE can survive and thrive without Vince McMahon. And I hope it continues, and I hope we don't have to see that MF Altos SOB run things at the helm like he was, like nothing fucking happened. Let's just hope it continues the way in 2023. Please. Anyways, now we'll talk about like the best moments in the world, like the most embarrassing. Like the best moment was for me was probably the Cody Rhodes return to WWE at WrestleMania. Like you like this like the return of the year when you look all the WWE returns this year, and the Bray Wyatt return straight was great in its own speed. That was tremendous. But for Cody Rhodes to be one of the EVPs and founders of AEW just came out after that and come back to WWE at WrestleMania in a big ass arena stadium and beating one of the top guys of the company right off the bat, like that puts it up even more as like the return year and the best moment of the year. Like, and when you look at what he has done since he come back, he has become one of like the people that you actually look forward to see out of this new year. And it's crazy how like early on this year when Cody was like still in AEW, I remember people were enamored by the things that he was doing on. His character was growing instead, and if we were be honest, he kind of had always wished he's still in that company. And that's clause of like not having a world title match ever again really put a dark cloud over his career in AEW, and it put a ceiling that and it put a reaching ceiling that he couldn't reach above it. So when you look at it and when you see his return and the way he's been presented, the way he's been booked, like you cannot tell me like it was probably the best thing he could have done, because now he's in a position where he can actually win a world title and like and actually be presented as one of the top guys in the company. Like he was a top guy at AEW. Like he was featured a lot of storylines and matches. But the thing is he kinda done everything he could have done in that company. So yeah. So Cody Rhodes return WrestleMania has to be best moment of the year for me in 2022. And it kind of leads a segue perfectly to the worst moment, which is probably still the most embarrassing thing that happened this year in wrestling. And that is the CM Punk media rant that led to the brawl out in Chicago between CM Punk and the Elite. Now, the reason why I said is it was the perfect segue to this when I talk about Cody Rhodes leaving AEW to this. Is like some people that I've heard after the brawl out happened, many people think like the culture, what really started to turn downhill for all of this was Cody Rhodes leaving, because I'm sure he was still managing some things and stuff. And like, but then again, like people were saying things like when he left, it just didn't felt the same. The morale didn't kind of hit the same backstage. Like, it didn't feel the same when Cody left, is what people were saying. And, like, but then again, like, when CM Punk came in and was paid for a whole hell of a lot of money, and that, with a money situation, being the reason why Cody left, and I'm sure he's trying to deny it, but you can see how, but you can see from a point of view that Cody wasn't going to be viewed in the same light. Now that St. Paul was in the cover and now Bryan Danielson was in. So when he left, like, it kind of started the cross for everything that happened for the Elite and CM Punk. Like, and look, I don't know what Cody Rhodes was like backstage. As I gave people, most people say positive things about Cody in the locker room and all that stuff. And I don't think they pretty hate him, man, as it got on, as they ruled a CM Punk, which, like, oh boy. And what really started the cross for the heat between CM Punk and the Elite was the Hangman Page promo that he cut the Heyman Page promo that he cut on CM Punk at that Dynamite show before their match. I think WWE nothing for the whole title. And Heyman said about workers' rights and how he pitied CM Punk for the way he is, and that he doesn't want him here, and that he was going to defend All Elite Wrestling. And then months later, after the match happened, this was months after, CM Punk came out on a random Dynamite episode trying to call out Adam Page, and then calls him a coward shit after him calling him out. And Page was fucking there backstage. Jesus Christ. And then it all fucking turned down here. Because then again, and then he wasn't with the Elite, it was with Colt Cabana, since, you know, he had heat because of the lawsuit that have happened. We think because of the podcast that Punk was talking about, some doctorish thing that the WWE doctor tried to sue Colt Cabana, and then Colt Cabana tried to lawsuit CM Punk. It was some kind of crazy shit. But then CM Punk came out all that years ago as the world champion, and he fucking, like, belittles the company, blaster, kind of everybody. He was like this one versus all mentality. Like, he had this, it was him against the world. With him talking about all the shit that's going down and all that stuff. With him being working with children, EVPs tried to speak lies and shit, calling an empty dumb fuck Adam Page. Like, he was saying all this shit while Tony Khan, sitting next to him, was sat back and letting him all talk crap about his company. And then the brawl out happened. And it's like, and now I will say, reflecting back on that moment when all that shit went down, now we can find out that Tony Khan was dealing with a lot of personal shit. Like, his mom, I think he was going through some health issues, like a cancer related thing. And like, he was he was like under the pressure that time while having to deal with that. With his mother having some health issue and tried to maintain a wrestling show, a wrestling company with this drama backstage. So, in the thing, I understood why Tony wasn't in the right state of mind with all this went up, but it still doesn't change the fact that this was still the worst moment and the most embarrassing moment that's ever happened in wrestling 2022. Like, it was a disgrace. Like, and put a dark cloud on that company for pretty several weeks after that. Like, I will say, after like Full Gear, it's been kind of getting better. I will say the 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 cloud has been started to carry away a little bit. But yeah, and I hope they continue the momentum they're being on right now into 2023. But like, yeah, this was a black dark cloud, a big black hole in that company facility, and Tony because Tony Khan just sat back and let all that happen. Like, but and still, like, I don't know how he wasn't looking at Heyman Page and CM Punk when Heyman called up Roman Punk. He looked at them in the eye and tried to sort this out. Tried to talk it out, like, beforehand, like, what you were gonna say or stuff. Like, that shit was so fucking preventable. And, yeah, it was still fucking embarrassing. For all parties involved. For Punk, the Elite, Tony Khan. It was a disgrace. Like, what you can say about it? It was a disgrace. Like, unbelievable. So, taking it there that way, let's talk about some rookies of the year. Rookie of the year. Um, I was tempted to say his name, but then I realized, like, this man took to wrestling a lot quicker than most people around his state could. And for rookie of the year, I will say Logan Paul. Like, this is a guy that debuted a company just, was it 8 months ago at WrestleMania, and had one of the better matches of that year's weekend card. Like, him and the Miz against the Mysterios, Ray and Dominic, was a really good match and an entertaining one. Then we come back again at SummerSlam, and he had an entertaining match against the Miz at SummerSlam. That was great. Him and Logan Paul. That was so entertaining. And then he was put against the Ultimate Test. He was thrown into the whoops, so to speak, against the top guy in the company, Roman Reigns, in Saudi Arabia for the Universal title. And carried and pretty much gave Roman Reigns his best match from this year for all year. Like, he gave Roman Reigns his best match all year. Like, look, the Brock match at SummerSlam was great in itself. And he had some good matches. But this one was like all kinds of levels of like, wow. Like, Logan Paul really showed up when that match happened. Like, he gave, like I said, gave Roman Reigns his best match all year, and really proved to himself, like, if he can commit to this, he's gonna be a world champion one day. Like, if he can really put into it as much as he has, the 3 matches he's had, put more work into what he is doing in the ring, he will be a world champion of this company. Like, now, personally, his character work needs some working. I think the guy is a natural heel to me. Like, we can see it in him. He's a natural in be a heel. But in the ring, like, from bell to bell, he's one of the best in the ring. Like, he has took it faster than most people have taken in this business. Like, for the things that he has done in just 3 matches, that's insane. Insane. Like, the way it's been, the way, like, he's been put his guy, just unbelievable. Is crazy. And, yeah. The the storyline of the year. I was I was like, this is one of the harder ones because as much the Sami saying Bloodline storyline is the best storyline right now. Like, it only started for like 3 months. Like, when it first happened, like, they didn't really use it to the extent that it is right now. Like, if Vince McMahon was still in charge, this storyline would have been over. It would have been gone when it 3-4 months into it. It would have been gone just like that. But with Triple H coming in and taking over, he saw the potential of this storyline with Sami Zayn and his history with Sami Zayn back when he was NXT, when he was the underdog for the underground, something like that. Like, he took that potential and made a storyline, and it has turned to comedy gold. Like, yeah, and it's only that it's already been start, and this whole story has been lasted like 3 months. But again, but then so this while this story has been great with the Sammy Bloodline story, and I think we'll continue on more into the new year when as it gets to WrestleMania season. I think it's where the story will employ and grow to much bigger things. I have to say, like, the Punk MJF feud was probably the stronger one because how deeply it was and how, like, there was like so much of character development in this feud. Like, like, when like this story like started, like, and and up until like the MJ with a real stuff, the first segment they had was probably the best segment in AEW history with those guys confronting each other, going back and forth. And my that was their segments haven't always been great. Where the back and forth in the segments in the ring, they have always been great. They've tried to limit some weirdish stuff into it. And the first segment they did was timeline, and really said that the what this feud could have been. And you saw in the pros they had, the later pros, their match, their first match on Dynamite was really good, and then the build to their Dark Collar match at I think it was like Revolution, and that was great. The MJF tried to be sympathetic, where we all know he was being the devil. That was fucking great. And when he turned out to be the devil, when he was beating the shit out of Punk, that was some great, phenomenal shit on television. It's some of the best stuff AEW has done all year. And that was from this feud. For this MJF CM Punk story like that. That was great. And yeah, like the things that these two were able to do in their feud makes it tempted, but kind of some message like for what this storyline was. It was probably my favorite storyline this year. This the Pumpkin Jerry. So that as much as I'm being in love with the Sammy bloodline, as much I think it's been great now. This storyline is just tremendous. Like, it was great. Um, and that whole sphere between Fun MJ is my story of the year for the best storyline. The worst storyline. Hmm. You know, I wasn't. You know, it really comes down to two storylines. Um, the Sammy Guevara Scorpius guy, the whole damn Lambert storyline was just cringe. When the attack on Conti and like Pace and Van, that whole thing was just a clusterfuck. It came out to this way. It was that or the Charlotte Ronda Rousey. And I will go with that Charlotte Ronda solely because of how disappointed this view was. Like, I expected a lot more. And when if Cody Rhodes was like the best return, the best comeback of the year, Ronda Rousey, beyond a shadow of a doubt, has to be the worst return, the comeback of the year. Like, she came back this year. When she came back at that Royal Rumble, which I will get into later on this vid, stay tuned. But like when she came back in that Rumble, like you could tell, like I gave her some slack at the time because she was like 4 months pregnant. She just got out having to give birth to a baby. So I gave her some slack. She didn't have a lot. You can tell she didn't have a lot of proper time to get back into ring shape. But then even with that, since I will say that match with Charlotte WrestleMania, you could tell she's been mostly phony in the ring and what she's doing on promos and stuff. And it proved in that story with Charlotte Flair. Like, like, out of all the matches at that Mania, at that WrestleMania from the two night, this had probably the worst storyline going into there. Like, some of the promos that Ronda was doing was so fucking cringe inducing. And then that match was at WrestleMania just underwhelmed all the hell. Like, they had a really good match. The Iconic one at like a WrestleMania Backlash, the match after that. But then again, the storyline wasn't interesting as well either for that match either. So yeah, for that alone, how disappointed this feel. That I will say the worst storyline is the Charlotte Ronda Rousey stuff. Like that shit was pretty bad. Like they really funny and both Charlotte and Ronda throughout this storyline. Like yeah, man. And we will get to, and this is kind of a sad way to like, for the best and worst pay per views from this year. Like, the worst pay per view, and I didn't even have to even think about that hard. The worst pay per view of the year has to be the Royal Rumble. Like, when you look, and the crazy thing is, like, when you look at the pay per view quality this year, forget all the rest. When you look at WWE's pay per view quality this year, Royal Rumble has to rank at the bottom, if not the near bottom, because their pay per views quality stuff for this year have been mostly solid to great. But this run, the Royal Rumble this year, oh my god, they fucking disappoint. As I talk about with Ronda Rousey winning the Rumble when she came back, that Rumble, that women's Rumble was meh. It was there for me, like it was okay. But the men's Royal Rumble, oh my god, they fucking bore me to tears. Like, to say I fucking hated the lineup in this match, we'll be honest with you, because what really hurt that fucking match, more than anything, was the fucking lineup. Like, that fucking match had fucking a lot of people that have no fucking business. Like, why there were fucking tactics in this Rumble match? Like, and that was a fucking indictment of that roster earlier this year, when it was still, they were, from the year prior, they were releasing half a dozen fucking people on the roster, and you have to level with tag teams and stuff, and then you had like Johnny Knoxville, which turned out to be alright, as the Sammy stuff he did with Rainier was pretty fun, I will admit. But when he included that one, I was like, really? Johnny Knoxville? Like, this is what happened when you fucking release half of that fucking people. And then you had like fucking Bad Bunny in there, which like, he did amazing the previous year, and the Royal one was like, okay. I didn't mind it, but it's like, maybe you could use it with someone else. And then the top it all off, Shane fucking McMahon. Oh boy. Like, what can I even say about this? So, and that's he was the big reason, many people be one of the big reasons why this Rumble match from this year, the men's one, turned out to be completely fucking flat, because he was fucking trying to sabotage this Rumble and putting all the spite into his fucking self. It got so bad that Vince sent Shane home and said he will never get a pop in this company. Like, holy crap. Like, and then Brock Rennie was like, it was totally predictable as fuck. I didn't mind it. And I didn't even mind Brock Rennie, but like, holy fuck. And you know, in a lot of ways, this men's Royal Rumble match from this year was an final representation of what many people hate about Vince McMahon WWE product. Like, current stars being cast away and just in favor for all the part-timers. No real energy and investment into the match as it's going on. And basically, you have people that had no fucking business be in the match. Like, and like, it was boring. Like, stuff like this, when you see people being fucking glad Vince is fucking with a company, and they're looking forward to see what to play because It can't be worse than this shit. And even with those rumbles, like some of the matches, like Becky Lynch versus Doudrop, the Edge and Bad Business versus Miz and Maurice, which in my opinion was the worst match that Edge has ever had since he came back in 2020. It wasn't bad. It was just there. It had no. This just was kind of just there. Like it all felt meaningless. You have Brock and Bobby Lashley, which out of the two matches they had, this was the weaker one. And that whole story, and the whole story, and they have any matter with Brock could pretty much making Lashley feel not on his level. And the booking didn't help matters with Roman Reigns being the one that essentially helped Lashley to win the match. Like when you look at the match, the second match, the recent match they had Saudi Arabia, and how competitive Lashley looked against Lesnar compared to this, like Jesus Christ, it was such a disappointing match for the first match that people have been claiming for years. And then the Reigns Rollins stuff, like that was like the only real good thing about the show. I liked the match. I even liked the post match, but the DQ was kind of meaningless because it didn't lead to anything. Like it didn't lay anything. Like like it was just there. And yeah, that almost the whole show was such a big fucking anticlimax, such a big disappointment. Worst show pay per view wise of the year, the worst one. Then the best one. Now this is really hard because I'm between Forbidden Door or Castle the Castle. I will say I would give the edge a bit more to Castle the Castle because of how because with Forbidden Door it was great. It had the AEW New Japan Super Show match card. There was not really one bad match of the show, but neither did Castle the Castle did, and it has that matchup, but it didn't feel long. And this is the show was like one of the shortest papers we had this year, and like it really felt and there was not really one bad match of the show, and everything just seemed to click on that show. So yeah, for and the crowd in the UK helped a lot. They were fucking amazing. That UK crowd for that show. For that alone, pretty much cemented as my favorite pay per view from this entire year. I will say. So yeah, for that I will say Castle the Castle is my favorite show from this year. And when you look at pay per view card this year from WWE, the Royal one was like way nearby them. And Castle Castle was like way fucking there. Like, yeah. So that tells you a lot. So, yeah. Promo of the year, I will say the NJF stuff that was the best promo of the year. His pipe, his nuke, as he would like to say, when he cut that promo was tremendous stuff. Worst promo of the year, I will give it to the Marina Shafir AW Dark. I didn't even try to bother watching it. And so no, you barely watch it, but I did, and holy fuck, like you can try to see, and I don't even get what AW sees in this woman. Like she's okay to win, but her her charisma is her charisma is like as goose shit. Like her charisma is goose shit. Like a fucking show that problem. Like she was pointing at the crowd at all random moments, like and having a weird expression on her face, acting really not being comfortable in the ring, and Vicky Guerrero tried to salvage some stuff, and oh my god, that promo was really fucking bad. Like that, that was like, that was oh my god, that was so bad. If you never watch it, don't try to bother watching it. As you probably heard of that Maria Sheffield promo on AEW Draw that most of you don't even watch it most of the time, but I did, and holy fuck, that had to be the worst promo of the year. And you know, her match against Jade Cargill at Dynamite this year was probably the worst match. The worst wrestling match of this year was her against Jade Cargill. As the match lasted like 30 seconds, like, that was a complete waste of fucking time. Complete waste of time. And yeah. But I will say, like, when it comes to like breakout stars of the year, Jay Cargill has to be in that conversation. Like, not so much in the ring. She's been showing some improvements in the ring, but her matches don't get. But usually they don't really give her like good opponents, and the good opponents they gave her, they don't really get the right amount of time to showcase her wrestling ability. So it's not even so much for her magic, but for her character work, the way she presses herself, the way she carries herself. She had a really breakout year in 2022, and she might add. I will hope she will have a better 2023 in her hands. So yeah, I will watch. I'm not gonna say my best match, as I said the worst match was Marina Shafir versus Jade Cargill from that Dynamite show in November. I will not. I will say my best match for my top 10 wrestling favorite matches from this year in my next video. So now we get down to the nitty gritty. Now it comes down to my tag team of the year, women's rest of the year, and for the males rest of the year. Tag team of the year easily has to go to FDR. Cash Rider and Dark Rider have a fucking career years in this year. Like the matches they had this year alone. Like the list of incredible matches they had was tremendous. And as much I was almost going to say the Usos for Tattoo, as they had some pretty kick-ass matches this year. But when you look at what the FTR has done for this year alone, the trilogy of matches with the Briscoes, the match they had with the Young Bucks, like they have fucking great matches with fucking everybody this year. And they had even great match against each other in singles matches. Like the level of matches that the level of the quality of matches these guys had this year have been incredible, and I hope they will make an even better 2023. Like I really hope. So yeah, they has to be easily FDR my tag team of the year. Women's Wrestler of the Year, again, I didn't have to think about it. It has to be Bianca Belair. Like, and again, I react to y'all, like, her level of matches that the amount of things that she has done this year, Bianca Belair had a fucking great 2022. Like, her storyline with Becky was great. The both matches they had at WrestleMania SummerSlam were incredible. Even the matches with Bayley were really good. Her match with Carmella was really good. The triple threat at Hell in a Cell between Asuka and Bianca, where her and Asuka, Becky was great. Like, Bianca had a really career year in 2022, and like when you look at the matches he had and the amount of things that he has done this year alone, you kind of feel she's kind of peaked this year. Kind of set the reality up, but like with Bianca, it's like she kind of might have peaked this year. Who knows what 2023 might have stole for her, but I hope she continues to level with the matches and the things that he has done, like what she has done this year. So, Bianca Belair, my Women's Wrestler of the Year, bar none, period. And for rest of the year, I had to start thinking, but I will say my male wrestler from this year, rest of the year period overall, is probably Jon Moxley. As much he has done great things in the ring, for the amount of great things he has done in the ring this year, part of crucial big reason he's my wrestler of the year because how important he is to AEW in that company that he received a 5-year deal just to stay in the company. Like, there has been no one that lit and breathed more in AEW this year more than Jon Moxley. Like, the things that he has done for this company, look at when he came back. Like, he came back this year for a rehab he had this year early on. And he said he was gonna take the wrestling storm. He was gonna take wrestling by storm this year, and he's had pretty been up to his words. Like, he's been done some crazy things in the indies too, with him being GCW champion. He think he still wrestles in New Japan. But when I say importance for AEW, like when CM Punk got first injured in his first world title reign, like when he got full wrist injury, Tony Khan needed an interim AEW World Champion. And who did he turn into? Jon Moxley. He turned to Jon Moxley to carry the load in case for the absence of Punk. When he went down with a full injury as he needed a top guy to carry them. And Jon Moxley helped fill the void. And he had pretty good run as World Champion, I must say. A pretty good run as the World Champion. Then he beat CM Punk in that unification squash thing match that led to him dropping the belt to Punk. And then when Punk got injured again and went through all that media scrum and him been fighting with the elite and all that stuff, Moxley was supposed to go on the vacation after this. But he held on and stayed loyal to Tony Khan and AEW and helped carry the void that was left when all those four guys were out the TV for a while. And helped carry through AEW by winning the world title again and to help put MJF over when he dropped the title again to MJF last month at Full Gear. Like he's the man to call upon, to depend and call on. Like, when she gets to bed, he's the guy. And he's probably, and I think when you look back at the history of AEW, I think the most important signing, there have been like two that come to mind, the two most important signings. Chris Jericho and John Moxley. And when you look at what Moxley has done this year, it's no it's it's no wonder why he got a 5-year deal and he resigned it, because he could have returned to WWE. He knows it. He knows he could have returned. Probably maybe a Shield reunion, possibly, but he stayed loyal, committed to All Elite Wrestling because he believes, lives and breathes for this company, and he hopes to succeed to the most massive it could be. And for that alone, he's my wrestler of the year. And when you look at the matches, he has a pretty, really good solid list of matches from this year alone. The matches he had with Punk at All Out. The one with MJF at Full Gear was great. Like, the Stadium Stampede he was in with Blackpool Combat Club and Eddie Kingston and Santana thing against Jericho's Appreciation Society. That was like the best thing of that show. And when you look at all of this, and the match when he won the Interworld title against Hiroshi Tanahashi was great at Forbidden Door. He's had also a career year as for himself in the ring. And when you look at what he has done for this company, just behind the scenes, he's my favorite. He's my rest of the year. I was tempted to say Roman Reigns, but then again, he's pretty much been pretty much been absent for most of this year. In my opinion, he had a better 2021 than he had 2022. Because he was there a lot more and had a lot more great matches this year than he had this year. Not to say he had some good to great matches. He had some good one. He had a kick-ass match with Logan Paul at Crown Jewel, but not to the extent to the 2021 matches that he has had. For that reason, I picked Moxley as my favorite wrestler of the year. And that concludes here for my best and worst wrestling and talk about the year review of the craziest year in many, many years in 2022. God only knows what 2023 will look like, will bring us to. Maybe it's crazier this year. Who knows? But yeah, as it turns this year, I'll have a lot of fun with you guys, the guys that have been for the guys that have been watching me. I thank you, for watching me and being joining me on this ride for this year, throughout most of this year in 2022 when I talk about wrestling. It's been great stuff. So yeah, so that's been my best or worst video wrestling 2022. Like this video, subscribe if you haven't here. Comment what you think about what you think are the best or worst in pro wrestling in 2022 in the comment section below. And as always, I'm Jason Maenius, and I approve this message.